Emerging Threats Hub. The Shifting Sands, America's Retrenchment, and the Fragmentation of Global Order.
What happens when your security partner tells you to handle your own defense, while simultaneously threatening to annex your territory? This isn't a theoretical exercise in realism. It's the lived contradiction facing European policymakers today, and it reveals something profound about how international order is constructed and how it might collapse. Welcome to Emerging Threats Hub. I'm Sebastian. We're entering what analysts are calling a post-American era. But here's the critical question we'll explore through a constructivist lens. Is this the inevitable collapse of liberal order, or is it an opportunity to construct something more resilient? We'll examine the blurring lines between crime and warfare, the fragility of the Eurasianist project, and the architectural choices available for building stability without hegemony. You can follow our analysis between episodes and join the conversation using #EmergingThreatsHub. Let's begin.
The post-American security architecture.
Let's start with the structural shift. According to analysis from Defense Priorities, cited in our briefing materials, we are witnessing the end of Pax Americana and the start of a post-American era. Now, the traditional realist would tell you this is naturally dangerous. They'd argue that without a hegemon to police the system, anarchy inevitably leads to conflict. But that's deterministic thinking, the kind that mistakes description for destiny. From a constructivist perspective, anarchy is what states make of it. And right now, European states are being forced to make something new. Consider the contradiction I mentioned in our opening. An article from Euractiv reveals the new U.S. National Defense Strategy explicitly states that Europe should handle the Russian threat. Washington is demanding strategic autonomy. Yet simultaneously, the Trump administration is threatening to seize Greenland, a Danish territory, while the Pentagon scrambles for Arctic dominance. One might ask, how can Europe achieve responsibility when its agency is being denied? This tension reveals the flaw in viewing international politics as mere power mechanics. The relationship is socially constructed through shared ideas. When Washington shifts from partner to transactional occupier, it doesn't just change policy, it reconstructs the identity of the NATO alliance. But here's where it gets interesting. An article from Foreign Affairs proposes Fortress Ukraine, a coalition of the willing, to rearm Kyiv without Washington. The European Planning Group, a nascent European pillar within NATO, these aren't just bureaucratic adjustments. They represent the construction of a new security identity, Europe as a security producer, not merely a consumer. The solution-oriented question is this: can European states construct a collective defense identity robust enough to deter Russia, while maintaining the liberal norms of cooperation that distinguish their model from the authoritarian alternatives? The evidence suggests they're trying. The Franco-German Spanish fighter jet disputes aside, the direction is toward institutionalized autonomy. The architectural blueprint here isn't unilateral annexation. It's negotiated interdependence. As we'll see later, the Better Greenland deal offers a template: mutual security arrangements that respect sovereignty while addressing legitimate defense needs. Transitioning from the macro-architecture to the micro-tactics, we find another boundary dissolving: the line between criminal enterprise and military warfare.
The democratization of precision violence.
Realism focuses on tanks and territory, but today's battlefield innovations reveal how ideas about legitimate violence are socially constructed and currently being reconstructed. Take Ukraine's kinetic sanctions. Kyiv isn't just petitioning for economic restrictions, it's physically attacking Russian Shadow Fleet tankers in the Black Sea. These vessels, aging, uninsured, and operating outside maritime law, represent a new category of threat. An article from RUSI explains how these dark fleets facilitate sanctions evasion, environmental destruction, and maritime hybrid warfare simultaneously. This is constructivism in action. The normative boundary between economic statecraft and military action is being redrawn in real time. When a drone sinks a tanker, is that war? Sanctions enforcement? Environmental policing? The categories are blurring because states are creating new shared understandings of legitimate force. Nowhere is this clearer than in the diffusion of military technology to non-state actors. Latin American cartel operatives may have infiltrated Ukraine to learn drone tactics. They're adopting first-person view, or FPV, drone warfare capabilities previously reserved for nation-states, and applying them to illicit supply chains and territorial control in Mexico and Colombia. Meanwhile, Chinese organized crime networks operating not merely as criminal syndicates, but as extractive economic structures devastating Latin American governance. These aren't criminals in the traditional sense, nor are they state agents. They occupy a newly constructed space between sovereignty and lawlessness. The realist sees this as chaos. The constructivist sees it as a normative vacuum, one that requires urgent institutional innovation. The solution isn't just more drones or more police. It's constructing new international legal frameworks for maritime hybrid warfare and new non-proliferation norms for autonomous weapons before they become ubiquitous tools of criminal state fusion. If the West is struggling to maintain its liberal construction, and criminal networks are constructing parallel sovereignties, what of the Eurasianist alternative?
The Eurasian Identity Project and its fractures.
An article from Foreign Affairs analyzes Xi Jinping's military purge. The removal of high-ranking PLA commanders during a period of military modernization suggests not just corruption cleanup, but a centralization of narrative control. Xi is constructing himself as the sole authority. The identity of the state merged with the identity of the leader. We now can confirm this. Xi as sole authority. This personalist, turn what we might call the Personalist Global Order, makes the system brittle. When Khamenei, the 86-year-old supreme leader of Iran, passes from the scene, we may see the collapse of a regime held together not by institutional resilience, but by personal authority. The domestic crises, 40% inflation, expanding protests, and the social construction of illegitimacy. The realist would say Iran and China are simply accumulating power, but the constructivist sees something else. Regimes attempting to construct alternative modernities that reject liberal legitimacy, yet failing to generate the shared beliefs necessary for institutional stability. Even the Sino-Russian partnership shows constructivist limits. The latest news reveals the boundaries of their space cooperation. Despite political alignment against Washington, technological distrust persists. Shared ideas matter. When they're lacking, even material interests cannot cement alliances. The solution here is not regime change. Rather, it's supporting the construction of robust institutions that can survive personalist failures, and promoting liberal ideas not as imposition, but as evidence of cooperative possibility. Before we conclude, it's time to go under the radar examining a narrative construction that most analysts miss.
Under the radar.
This week, we're looking at Kim Jong-un's war narrative. While headlines focus on North Korean troop deployments to Russia, the deeper story is how Pyongyang is constructing a politics of isolation. Why does this matter? Because it demonstrates that conflicts are won and lost in the narrative dimension before they're decided on the battlefield. When we analyze Ukraine's kinetic sanctions, or Xi's purges, we must also analyze the stories these regimes tell about themselves. The material reality follows the social construction. Now, let's architect the path forward. So, where does this leave us? We've traced the fragmentation of the American-led order, not as inevitable collapse, but as a contested reconstruction. We've seen how technology is dissolving the norms separating crime from war, and how the Eurasianist alternative struggles to generate the shared beliefs necessary for institutional resilience. The connective tissue is choice. International order is not a mechanical system obeying fixed laws of power. It is, As constructivism reminds us, a social realm where norms, identities, and shared understandings determine outcomes. The blueprint for stability doesn't require American hegemony, nor does it require descent into anarchy. A better Greenland deal, negotiated mutually beneficial security arrangements rather than unilateral grabs. Fortress Ukraine shows that coalitions of the willing can construct security without waiting for great power permission. The question we must ask ourselves: are we innovating for peace as quickly as we are innovating for war? The shadow fleets, the cartel drones, the kinetic sanctions, these are technical solutions to socially constructed problems. The deeper work is constructing international society anew, based on the liberal insight that cooperation is not naive idealism, but a powerful reality that states can choose to build. I'm Sebastian. You can find or subscribe to our free newsletter at emergingthreatshub.substack.com. Join us next time as we continue to map the architecture of stability in a shifting world. Until then, stay analytical, stay solution-oriented, and remember, the international system is what we make of it.